Achten Tan.
Gnomes, elves, and humans.
The spectacular rainbow ever.
Requiem of Blood.
Mackenzie Lawson.
Bone Chief. Garrus, set of keys.
Elvish.
Lakshmi, Satama, phosphorescent
Achten
Tan. North Rib Ribs. Best ribs in the North Ribs.
Achten
Tan.
Achten Tan.
This is Sounds from the Year Between.
What sounds from the year between, D?
It's the podcast companion to, Tales from the Year Between. You know, that thing.
Yeah. What is that thing again?
I think that's a little higher than anything that we can figure out. Let's ask the man who started it, Chris Van Dyke.
The idea for Tales from the Year Between came to me on May 27th, 2020 while quarantined in Brooklyn during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd missed playing D&D with my friends, and although I was getting a lot of writing done while being stuck at home with my kids, I wanted to do something social. I've been sitting on the idea of a massive game of The Quiet Year for, years, and it seemed like a good time to try it out. I put out a call on Twitter hoping for 20 to 15 participants, and in under 24 hours I had more than 30. I spent the next week homebrewing custom rules for The Quiet Year, as the game is designed for 4 people sitting around a table, not 32 people spread from Dubai to Alaska. Wait, what's The Quiet Year, you ask? Well, The Quiet Year is Avery Alder's fantastic genre-bending collaborative storytelling game. You should go buy it right now, it's awesome. But starting with a very simple premise for a community, like we're in a town in a desert, mixed fantasy races like elves and dwarves and such, the game gives players a series of random prompts and decisions to make each turn. By answering questions, creating projects, and discovering new locations on a map, players jointly tell the story of a small community as the year unfolds. So The Quiet Year was our prompt, the engine we used to create a world. Using shared Google Docs and email chains, all the participants added to that world one after another. 6 days later, there was a document with roughly 10,000 words outlining the major characters, events, and locations in our town. Using this document as our canon, each writer created within that space with the explicit encouragement to, quote, do something weird, to push the boundaries of the fantasy genre. My mantra became, it's all good, factum est bonum. So over the next 6 weeks, we wrote, we shared, we edited, we laughed, and really we formed a community. And then we had a book. We hope you enjoy it. And just maybe, we hope you'll help us write the next installment.
Oh, so that's Tales from the Year Between. Right, okay. So let me get this straight. You and me and like 28 other people made this place called Achten Tan and created it through playing a game and then wrote a bunch of weird pieces in it. Is that about right?
You've got it in a nutshell. Except that only the god tree was in the nutshell.
Ha!
It took a whole year of stories. In fact, let's hear Aaron describe the events of one season. One season as created by our writers, Summer in Achten Tan.
I'm Aaron Ray Hoffer. Let me tell you a few words that I love about Achten Tan, my home. The season that I remember best from The Quiet Year was summer. Terrible things were happening. Many of us had theories, and many actions were taken. Gerwin the Wise gathered people to create an amazing gladiator game arena. Chief Opuhaku was trying his best to keep order. But the flashing lights drew most interest. Niskan and his sister Nal-Uin went to find the lost riders who had tried to solve the mystery of the lights by traveling to the tower near the bog. Niskan and Nal-Uin were the children of Aislinn and Lanina, the hardest working anchors in the village. And the terrible thing that happened to Nal-Uin after that journey, we still talk about it. Not even our healer, Otara Subjavat, was able to help her.
In a world where giant ants roam the desert and ribs and rib shops reign supreme.
Almost 1,000 crowdsourced proofing edits, 467 pages of original content, 60 in-game weeks, 52 pieces, plus 4 appendices, 30 contributors, 10 weeks from invite to publication, authors in 9 time zones, doing 4 days of intense world building, all from one tweet.
It boggles the mind, honestly. We all responded to a single tweet. We didn't know each other. And then from that, this whole thing has just spiraled wildly out of control. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. I was not expecting it to be like this.
I have no idea what I expected, which was part of what was expected, the unexpected.
Yeah, well, I think even Chris, our
Hail Chris,
great and glorious leader, would admit that actually he didn't really know what was going to happen, and that was sort of part of it. Oh, by the way, that's Chris, the great and glorious leader, but who are we?
Me? Who are you? You're Terry.
And you're D.
That's us. And we're here to talk about our new favorite fantasy world, Achten Tan.
So Achten Tan, or Achten Tan, or Achten Tan, Tuan. It doesn't really matter. Achten Tan is the world and the title of the first volume of Tales from the Year Between, which is a brand new anthology series where a bunch of people create a world and then set a bunch of ridiculous pieces in it. And you can buy Achten Tan right now, and we'll tell you where to do that a little bit later. So I'm Chris Terry Durston. It's a long story and we'll get to it at some point. And this is D. Gagliardi.
Hello. And the thing is that we didn't know each other a few months ago. We had never met. We had never thought about meeting. We were on opposite sides of the world. But this project gave us a world in between. It gave us a space between all of us. And it did it for 30 of us. There are 29 people I now know around the world that I can reach out to and talk about giant ants.
Yeah, it's sort of 50% writers collective, 50% family, and 50% weird cult. And I'm aware that doesn't add up to 100%, but that feels in keeping with the spirit of the thing. Like, as corny as it sounds, it really does feel like we kind of found a weird family and built that while we were building this world together.
Absolutely.
So we spent a pretty intense period just kind of filling up this world with strange things so that we could then all kind of, you know, just spiral from that and do whatever the heck we felt like. And in future episodes of this show, we'll cover some of the weirdness that did in fact occur from that.
Yeah, and intense time is exactly right. This has been one of the most intense times for me creatively, but it's been worldwide one of the most intense times we've had in decades. Through all of this, we've also lived lives while the world was rocked by protests, a pandemic. Our children were home from school, we were home from work. We had to learn how to educate our children and care for them in new and confusing ways. We're now working on prepping for a new school year for those of us in education and those of us who have children or know children or were children. We learned new skills. We dusted off all old skills. We had vacations. Thousands and thousands of miles were driven, most of them by Colleen.
Why was Colleen driving so much again?
Kids to college, vacations. She was back and forth across the United States, which was the largest space that we had to deal with. Somebody was from Alaska and was trying to show how small Great Britain was compared to it.
There's I don't know, dear listener, whether you'll have worked this out, but I am from Great Britain, strangely enough. I think nine of us will fit into one Alaska or something ridiculous. But we've kind of all been in isolation together, even though we've been across oceans and all kinds of things in, I think, 9 different time zones. I don't even know how many different states or countries, but we've been, I guess, kind of just reveling in this weird shared dream world, almost, this fantasy that we've made. And it's been
escape.
Yeah, it's been genuinely one of the weirdest experiences I think I've ever had, but I hope that everyone who took part in it will agree with me when I say it's been one of the sort of best surprises I think I've been a part of in a long time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
That's other Chris, that's not me, you're not talking to me.
No, I'm sorry, you're Terry. He's Chris Prime, you're secondary Chris, which means you're Terry. I apologize, it's just the way things are.
It is. I don't often have to give up the Chris. To be fair, there aren't that many Chris's in my neck of the woods, so I'm perfectly happy for Chris Prime to be Chris Prime on this one. I think he's earned it. Speaking of, I guess, living in this weird world, writing strange pieces, we kind of want on this show, I guess, to give you guys a taste of what's in the world, but also how it all came together, because it's such a weird story, just how this anthology kind of went from nothing to being everything. So Alison Moore, who's one of our contributors, she wrote the really beautiful story Saw, and on the other end of the spectrum, the really creepy story Requiem of Blood. And we just asked people to send in a couple of words that they associate with the world, but she was kind enough to actually tell us a bit of a story about how she came up with some of the inspiration for her pieces. And she does it better than we could, so take it away, Alison.
Hi, my name is Alison Moore, and the two stories that I did from Achten Tan are Soar and Requiem of Blood. The inspiration behind the Soar short story was when we were talking about the giant ribs that surround the town, and immediately my first thought was, someone's gonna jump from that, right? So I just decided that it would be pretty neat to have hang gliders in our world, and maybe even hang glider races, but I didn't really have the space to do a race, so I just came up with Vala and Sozi, and it was just a cute idea that came to me just out of the blue. And as for Requiem of Blood, the minute that Aslan was created, I just knew she was going to be in one of my stories, because I just love badass women, and and I also love darker characters, so I knew I was going to do something with her. And my original plan was actually, whenever I added into the annals and I had the part where the band of warriors got executed and their heads turned up back in town, my story was going to be about how those warriors, their trip to in the desert, and then how they ended up killed. But then I decided that I would just chop that down, literally. Have a shorter version of that just ended with showing the ending of that ill-fated party with Aslan doing the executions. And it turned out awesome, and I couldn't be happier with it.
Thank you, Allison. It's so fun to read the stories themselves, but to get an idea of where those stories came from, that's the sort of thing we want to be able to show you here.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find anywhere else where you're going to get 30, really legitimately good writers, way better statistically than is likely from people just responding to a tweet and there being no screening process. So I think it's really cool that you get to not only have all of that awesome creativity, but the way that it all came together and that we got to see each other do that and be part of each other's stories as well was just super rewarding. So hopefully we'll get to share a lot more about how people came up with the ridiculous things they did.
Absolutely. We'll have to do more of this, Terry.
Yes, we will. Join us next time, everyone, for more Sounds of the Year Between, and we will tell you more than you ever even wanted to know about Achten Tan. We'll tell you about the world, the people in it, the places, how it was all created, and we'll just generally have a good time. Maybe Dee will get her ukulele out at some point. I don't know.
Oh, ukulele time, absolutely. But we'll also keep you up to date with future volumes of Tales from the Year Between, as well as exciting news from Skullgate Media as it happens. We look forward to hearing from you as you read and explore Achten Tan, available on Kindle, Nook, and good old paperback. That's ACHTEN space TAN.
And if you do find yourself reading Achten Tan, which you should, because I'm not just saying this because I'm in it, it's actually really good. If you do read it, please let us know, leave a review wherever you bought it, or head to Goodreads and leave us a review there. every time we hear that someone's read it, or every time we see a review, 30 people all around the world smile these huge, stupid smiles of just unbridled, silly joy. So you'll make 30 people's days.
We are so happy that it makes other people happy. Thank you so much for then taking that happiness and bringing it back to us.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It really is. And to close us out, let's hear from those people, the people who made Achten Tan the world that it is. Thank you to all the contributors for taking part, and to those of you who gave us your names so that we wouldn't have to guess and mangle them, thank you extra, extra.
Chris Van Dyke,
Gabrielle Aw.
Jesse Nolan Bailey.
Ian Barr.
Darius Bearguard.
Jonathan Beck.
Kyle Beers.
Dan Berrison.
Ben Blattberg.
Elvira Canaveral.
Gregory Coley.
Darby Cupid.
Rosalind Dando.
Chris Durston.
Diana C. Gagliardi.
Aaron Ray Hoffer.
Sarah Hauk.
Debbie Yanku Haddad.
Roger Christian Jones.
Vincent Labate.
Rob McIntosh.
Allison Moore.
Isolt Murphy.
Chapel Orham.
Sarah Parker.
Sarah Remy.
Colleen Storrs.
Imelda Taylor.
Kelly Washington.
Paul Worthington.
Sounds from the Year Between is a production of Skullgate Media, the brand new independent writers collective trying to change the world, probably, or something. Our founder and editor-in-chief is Chris Van Dyke. Your hosts for this show are Diana Gagliardi and Chris Durston. This episode was edited by Chris Durston, and the music that you heard was also composed by that same guy. Thank you so much to all 30 contributors to Achten Tan, the first volume of Tales from the Year Between. Visit skullgatemedia.com or yearbetween.com to find out more, or find us on Twitter at skullgatemedia. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Dee.
Goodbye, Dee.
Ha!
The Tree's Blessed Night, and many more unto you.